You open your mouth, the idea is already clear in your mind, and then one missing English word brings everything to a stop. You know the word, you have read it before. You might even recognize it instantly if someone else says it, but when you need it yourself, it seems to disappear. That moment can make you believe your vocabulary is too small, but often something very different is happening. The words are there, your brain is simply trying to reach them in a way that is too slow for conversation. In this class, we are going to change the way you speak English while you speak, and the first change may feel completely opposite to what you have been doing. Chapter 1. Your problem may not be vocabulary. There is a strange experience that happens to many English learners. You are reading a book and you understand almost everything. You watch a video and recognize hundreds of words. You complete a vocabulary exercise and feel confident. Then somebody asks you a simple question. What did you do yesterday? Suddenly, the English that looked so familiar a few minutes ago becomes difficult to access. You start with, yesterday I, and then your mind goes searching. You know exactly what happened yesterday. The problem is not the idea. The problem is reaching the language quickly enough. This distinction is important because if you misunderstand the problem, you may spend months training the wrong skill. You may think, I need more vocabulary. So you learn another 100 words, then another 100, then another 100. Your vocabulary knowledge grows, but during conversation, you still hesitate. Why? Because knowing a word and retrieving a word are not the same ability. Let us prove this with a simple example. Think about the English word for the place where aeroplanes arrive and leave. You probably thought, airport, easy. Now think about the English word for the small paper or digital document that proves you paid for something. Maybe, receipt. Perhaps it came immediately. Perhaps it took 2 seconds. Now think about the word for the feeling you have when you cannot decide between two choices because both seem possible. Maybe you thought of uncertain, confused, undecided. Notice what happened. Your brain did not open a dictionary and read every word alphabetically. It searched through meaning. That search can be fast or slow. During real conversation, the difference matters. If retrieval takes half a second, conversation feels smooth. If retrieval takes 5 seconds every few sentences, speaking feels exhausting. And if you panic during those 5 seconds, the delay becomes even longer. This is why fluent speaking is partly a retrieval skill. The goal is not to store every English word in existence. The goal is to make useful English easier to reach. Imagine a huge warehouse. Inside the warehouse are thousands of boxes. Every box contains a word you know. If the boxes are organized well, you can find what you need quickly. If everything is scattered randomly, you may own the box but still spend 10 minutes looking for it. Your English vocabulary works in a similar way. Words become easier to retrieve when they are connected. Connected to situations, connected to phrases, connected to emotions, connected to other words, connected to experiences, connected to actions. Suppose you memorize the word appointment. You learn appointment = a meeting arranged for a particular time. Good, but if that is the only connection, the word may remain weak. Now imagine you use it in several sentences. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. I need to make an appointment. Can I change my appointment? I missed my appointment last week. The earliest appointment available is Friday. Now the word has multiple roads leading toward it. Tomorrow, when someone asks, what are you doing in the morning? You may say, I have an appointment. The word comes faster because you have used it inside meaningful patterns. This gives us our first important principle. Do not only learn words, build roads to words. That is what we are going to practice. Let us begin immediately. Take the word decision. Do not translate it. Connect it. Complete these sentences aloud. I need to make a decision about speak. It was a difficult decision because speak. I made the wrong decision when speak. One decision I'm happy I made was speak. You just created 4 different routes toward one word. That matters far more than reading the definition 4 times. Now take improve, complete. One thing I want to improve is my English improved when. To improve this skill, I need to. One small improvement I noticed recently was, again you are making the word usable. there is another reason words disappear during speaking. You may recognize a word visually, but rarely hear or pronounce it. When you read recommend, you know it instantly, but perhaps you rarely say, I recommend, would you recommend, someone recommended. That means the visual form is stronger than the spoken form. Reading knowledge does not automatically become speaking knowledge. You have to give the word a voice. This is why I want you to speak during this class, not only listen. If you stay silent, you will understand the lesson. If you speak, you will train the skill. Those are different outcomes. Let us try another exercise. I will give you a situation. You need to produce one useful word quickly. Situation. You bought something, but it does not work properly. What word comes to mind? Broken, damaged, defective, faulty? Any useful word is fine. Next situation. You expected something to happen, but it did not. Maybe disappointed, surprised, confused. Again, there is not always one perfect answer, and that itself is important. Many learners freeze because they believe there is exactly one correct word hidden somewhere in their brain. They think, I must find that word. Conversation does not require that. Conversation requires enough meaning. If defective does not come, say, it doesn't work properly. If disappointed does not come, say, I expected something better. You still communicated. We will develop that skill deeply later. For now, understand this. Your vocabulary may be larger than your speaking makes it appear. Your challenge is turning passive recognition into active access. That change begins when you stop measuring your English only by how many words you know. Start noticing which words come quickly, which words appear only when you see them, which words do you understand but never use, which situations make your vocabulary disappear. Those questions reveal the real problem, and once you see the problem clearly, you can train it directly. In the next chapter, we are going to deal with one of the biggest mistakes learners make when a word does not arrive immediately. They search harder, and that can actually make speaking worse. Chapter 2. Stop digging for the perfect word. Imagine you are telling somebody about your weekend. You say, on Saturday I went to a... You want the word market, but for some reason it does not appear. Your mind starts searching. Shop, store, market. What was it? You stop speaking. The other person waits. You become aware that they are waiting. Now you feel pressure. Pressure makes retrieval harder. You search even more aggressively. After 6 seconds, market finally arrives, but the conversation has already lost its rhythm. This is one of the most important habits to change. When a word does not appear quickly, do not keep digging for it for too long. Move. Use another road. You could say, I went to a place where people sell vegetables, fruit, clothes, and other things. Maybe while you are explaining it, the word market suddenly returns. Great. You can say, yes, a market. But notice what you did not do. You did not stop communicating while waiting for one word. That is a major fluency skill. A learner thinks, I cannot continue until I find the word. A flexible speaker thinks, I can continue even without the word. That difference changes everything. Let us build this habit. Suppose you forget the word elevator. Do not search silently for 10 seconds. Say, the thing in a building that takes you up and down between floors. The listener understands. Suppose you forget helmet. Say, the protective thing you wear on your head when riding a motorcycle. Suppose you forget pharmacy. Say, the shop where you buy medicine. Suppose you forget reservation. Say, the booking I made for the restaurant. You are not failing English. You are controlling the conversation. That is much more important. Now let us go deeper. There are 5 escape routes you can use when a word disappears. The first is function. What does it do? If you forget chargers, it's the thing I use to put power back into my phone. The second is appearance. What does it look like? If you forget ladder, it's a long thing with steps that you climb. The third is location. Where do you find it? If you forget receptionist, the person at the front desk in a hotel or office. The fourth is category. What general type of thing is it? If you forget screwdrivers, it's a tool. Then add, you use it to turn screws. The fifth is comparison. What is it similar to? If you forget cottage, it's a small house, usually in the countryside. These routes protect you. You should practice them before you need them. Choose 5 objects around you. For each object, imagine you do not know its English name. Describe it. Maybe there is a lamp. Do not say lamp. Say, it's something on my desk that gives me light when the room is dark. Maybe there is a keyboard. It's the part of the computer with letters and numbers that I type on. Maybe there is a curtain. It's the fabric that covers the window. This exercise may feel almost childish. It is not. Interpreters, language learners, public speakers, and skilled communicators all rely on reformulation. The ability to express the same meaning in different ways is a serious language skill. There is another kind of perfection that slows learners down. Sometimes the missing word is not missing at all. You already have a simple word, but you reject it because you want a better one. You want to say, the experience was exhausting. But exhausting does not come immediately. You know, very tiring. Instead of using it, you wait. Why? Because you want the advanced word. Do not do that during conversation. Use the available word. It was very tiring. Conversation continues. If the more precise word appears later, use it later. This principle can make you noticeably faster. Available English before impressive English. Say that aloud. Available English before impressive English. Again. Available English before impressive English. You are not lowering your standard, you are changing the order. First, communicate cue, then refine. Think about your first language. You probably do this naturally. If you cannot remember a technical word, you explain it simply. You do not conclude that you have forgotten your entire language. But English learners often judge themselves much more harshly. One missing word becomes, "My English is terrible." No. One word was temporarily unavailable. That is all. Here is a practical challenge. I will give you a difficult word. Pretend you do not know it. Explain the idea using simple English. Word 1. Generous. Maybe, a person who is happy to give money, time, or help to other people. Good. Word 2. Reliable. A person or thing you can trust to do what is expected. Good. Word 3. Inconvenient. Something that makes a situation difficult or causes extra trouble. Good. Word 4. Hesitate. To stop for a short time because you are not sure what to do or say. Good. You are learning something deeper than vocabulary. You are learning independence from vocabulary. That sounds strange, but it matters. The more afraid you are of missing words, the more power individual words have over your speaking. When you know you can survive without the exact word, you become calmer. And calmness often makes the original word easier to retrieve. There is also a conversational advantage. When you describe something, the other person may help. You say, "What do you call the tool you use to tighten a screw?" They say, "A screwdriver." You say, "Yes, exactly." That is normal conversation. You do not need to hide every vocabulary gap. Sometimes you can ask, "What's the word for? How do you say? What do you call the thing that?" These are legitimate communication tools, but use them after trying to keep the message alive. Your goal is not to ask for help with every missing word. Your goal is to remain active. Another useful phrase is, "I can't remember the exact word, but..." Practice it. "I can't remember the exact word, but it means," or "I can't remember what it's called, but it's the thing you use to..." These phrases buy time without creating awkward silence. Now let us practice a real speaking situation. Imagine someone asks, "What do you normally use when you travel?" You want to say, "I always bring a portable charger." But you forget portable charger. Do not stop. Say, "I always bring a small device that can charge my phone when I'm away from a power outlet." Perfectly understandable. Next, you want to explain that a restaurant was overcrowded, but the word disappears. Say, "The restaurant was extremely full. There were too many people inside." Done. Next, you want to say your schedule is flexible. Say, "My schedule can change quite easily, so I don't have to work at exactly the same time every day." Done. Notice something. Sometimes the explanation is actually clearer than the advanced word. This is why simple English is not the enemy of fluent English. Simple English is often the foundation of fluent English. Once you stop digging for perfection, your attention becomes available for the next idea. And that brings us to a deeper issue. Even when you know every word you need, you may still speak slowly because you are constructing sentences one word at a time. We need to change that next. Chapter 3. Stop building every sentence from zero. Listen to this sentence. I'm not sure if I'll have enough time. Did your brain process each word independently? Probably not. You recognized a pattern. I'm not sure if that group of words belongs together. Fluent speakers use thousands of these groups. They do not create every sentence from individual pieces. They rely on familiar chunks. That is one of the biggest reasons speech can sound fast. Imagine trying to cook a meal while making every ingredient from nothing. First grow the wheat, then make the flour, then make the bread. That would take forever. Language is easier when some parts are already prepared. Chunks are prepared language. Examples. I'm not sure if. The main reason is. I haven't had a chance to. It depends on. What I mean is. I was about to. I ended up. I'm used to. I'd rather. One thing I noticed is, as far as I know, the problem is. At the same time, you do not need to memorize the entire sentence after these phrases. You need the opening. The opening gives your brain direction. Suppose somebody asks, why did you stop exercising? Without a chunk, your brain starts from empty space. With a chunk, the main reason is. Now your sentence has started. The main reason is that my schedule became really busy. Easy. Question. Are you coming tomorrow? I'm not sure if I'll be able to come tomorrow. Question. Do you enjoy working from home? One thing I like about it is having more control over my time. Chunks reduce the number of decisions you make. That is important. If every sentence requires choosing every word, every preposition, every grammatical structure, and every transition separately, speaking becomes mentally expensive. Familiar patterns lower that cost. Let us build a small speaking toolkit. First, opinion starters. I think, I'd say, for me, the way I see it, my impression is. Now, reasons. The main reason is. That's mostly because. One reason for that is. What makes the difference is. Now, examples. For example, a good example is. Something similar happened when. One situation I remember is. Now, contrast. However, at the same time. On the other hand, that said. The only problem is. Now, clarification. What I mean is, in other words, to put it simply, more specifically, now uncertainty. I'm not completely sure, but, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but, my guess would be, these are conversation tools. You do not need all of them today. Choose 5, use them repeatedly. Here is your challenge. Question. Do you think people learn better alone or with a teacher? Begin with, I'd say, speak. Now add, the main reason is, continue. Now add, for example, continue. Now add, that said, continue. You just produced a structured answer without searching for how to connect every part. That is the advantage of chunks. Another powerful category is time language. When telling a story, use, at first, a little later, after that, eventually, by the time, in the end. Suppose you tell a story about missing a bus. At first, I thought I had plenty of time. A little later, I realized I had left home too late. By the time I reached the bus stop, the bus was already leaving. In the end, I had to take a taxi. Nothing complicated, but the story moves. Now compare that with, I left home, bus, late, I went there, it left, taxi. The difference is not advanced vocabulary. The difference is ready-made connections. This is why you should stop studying vocabulary as isolated nouns and adjectives only. Useful fluency vocabulary includes phrases that help ideas move. Another important group is recovery phrases. Everyone loses their sentences sometimes. Use. Let me say that differently. That's not exactly what I meant. Let me start again. What I'm trying to say is, the point I'm making is, I lost my train of thought for a second. Those phrases keep you inside the conversation. Instead of freezing because your sentence went wrong, you recover aloud. Practice that now. Say, that's not exactly what I meant. Let me say it differently. Again, That's not exactly what I meant. Let me say it differently. Now imagine you made a confusing statement during conversation. Use the phrase and explain again. Good. There is one warning. Do not memorize 50 chunks in one day. You will create another vocabulary problem. Choose a small set. Use them until they become familiar. For example, this week. The main reason is, what I mean is, for example, at the same time, I'm not completely sure, but use those 5 everywhere. Next week, add 5 more. Language becomes automatic through repeated use, not through collecting gigantic lists. Try another exercise. I will give you the beginning. You finish naturally. One thing I've noticed recently is speak. I haven't had a chance to speak. I used to think that speak. The biggest difference is speak. What I find difficult is speak. Did you notice how the beginning pulls the rest of the sentence forward? That is what you want. Eventually, the chunk itself becomes automatic. Then your mental attention can focus on the message. And that is where fluency becomes more comfortable. But chunks alone are not enough. You also need your vocabulary to live in groups instead of isolated islands. In the next chapter, we are going to organize English around situations so words begin appearing together. Chapter 4. Build word families around real situations. Suppose you are going to a restaurant. What words might you need? Menu, order, waiter, table, reservation, bill, tip, dish, I recommend it, allergic, available. These words belong to the same situation. If you practice them together, one word helps activate another. This is much closer to how speaking works. Real conversations do not ask, please use vocabulary word number 437. They give you situations. At a restaurant, your brain needs restaurant English. At the airport, travel in English. At work, work in English. At the doctor, health English. When vocabulary is organized around situations, retrieval becomes easier. Let us create a situation map. Topic, restaurant. First, people, server, customer, chef, manager. Next, objects, menu, plate, glass, table, bill. Next, actions, order, choose, pay, I recommend it, reserve. Next, problems, wrong order, cold food, long wait, no table, allergy. Next, useful phrases. Could I see the menu? What would you recommend? I'd like to order. Could we get the bill, please? I think this might be the wrong order. That is a useful language network. Now imagine practicing it by speaking. Pretend you enter a restaurant. Say, hi, I have a reservation for 2. Continue. Could we sit near the window if possible? Continue. I'm not sure what to order. What would you recommend? Continue. I'll have the chicken, please. Now the vocabulary lives inside movement. This is much stronger than memorizing. Reservation = booking. Recommend = suggest. Order = request food. You need situations. Let us create another network. Topic, work meeting. People, manager, colleague, client, team, actions, discuss, explain, suggest, agree, disagree, decide, review, schedule, problems, not enough time, missing information, different opinions, technical issue, deadline. Useful phrases. Can we go over that again? I agree with most of that, but could you clarify what you mean? My suggestion would be, let's come back to that later. Now imagine the meeting. Speak for 1 minute, maybe. We had a meeting this morning because the project is behind schedule. My manager asked everyone to explain what they had completed. One colleague suggested changing the deadline. Keep going. Notice what happens. The situation activates related words. This is why learners sometimes sound fluent on one topic and slow on another. Maybe you speak about your job every day. Work vocabulary comes easily. Then someone asks about gardening, and suddenly you feel like a beginner. Your overall English did not disappear. Your vocabulary network for that topic is simply weaker. That is normal. You can strengthen networks deliberately. Choose one situation per day. Monday, shopping. Tuesday, travel. Wednesday, work. Thursday, health. Friday, social plans. Saturday, home. Sunday, free conversation. For each situation, collect a small group of useful language, not 50 words, maybe 10 words and 5 phrases. Then use them aloud. Let us try shopping. Useful words: size, price, discount, receipt, exchange, refund, available, fit, cash, card. Now answer. What do you normally say if something is too expensive? Speak. What would you say if you needed a different size? Speak. What would you say if you wanted to return something? Speak. You are learning vocabulary through situations. Another powerful method is association. Take one word, build nearby words. Word, travel, nearby, flight, hotel, passport, luggage, ticket, delay, destination, booking, tourist, journey. Now make a short story containing at least 5 of them. Last year, I booked a flight to. Continue. The story forces the words to cooperate. Now take problem, nearby, solution, cause, fix, mistake, issue, difficult, solve, avoid, result. Explain a recent problem using 4 of those words. Good. Vocabulary networks become especially powerful when you add opposites and contrasts. Easy/difficult, early/late, cheap/expensive, formal/casual, temporary/permanent, flexible/strict, increase/decrease, accept/refuse, success/failure, agree/disagree. When one side appears, the other side becomes easier to access. Add common combinations too. We say, make a decision, not usually, do a decision. We say, take a break, pay attention, catch a bus. Miss a chance, keep a promise, solve a problem, meet a deadline, make progress. These combinations are important because your brain can retrieve them together. If you only learn decision, you may pause before the verb. If you learn make a decision, half the sentence is already ready. Practice combinations, not lonely words. Let us do a quick drill. Finish these naturally. Make a decision. Mistake, plan, difference, take a break, risk, seat, photo, keep going, a promise, in touch, calm, pay, attention, the bill, by card. Now create one sentence from each group. Speak aloud. This builds speed. There is another useful technique. Create a personal version of each situation. Generic English is useful. Personal English is easier to remember. Instead of learning, I need to reschedule my appointment. Connect it to your life. I had to reschedule my dentist appointment last month. Instead of, I missed a deadline. Maybe, I once missed a deadline because I underestimated how long the task would take. Personal meaning creates stronger memories. That is why you should talk about your real life during practice. Your own experiences give vocabulary something to attach to. Now we are ready to solve another major problem. Sometimes you know the words and the situation, but your answer still comes slowly because you are trying to design the whole sentence before saying the first word. We are going to remove that delay. Chapter 5. Start before the whole sentence is ready. Someone asks, what did you think of the presentation? You know your opinion, but before speaking, you try to construct the entire answer. I thought the presentation was informative, although the second part was somewhat difficult to follow because you are still building it internally. Meanwhile, the conversation waits. You do not need the complete sentence before you begin. You need a safe beginning. Say, I thought it was, now your mouth is moving. I thought it was interesting overall. The next idea comes, especially the first half. Next, the second part was a little harder to follow. Next, because there was a lot of technical information. You built the answer while speaking. That is normal. Speaking is not writing. You are allowed to discover the exact form of the sentence as you go. This is one of the biggest mindset changes for learners who overthink. They believe, first create the perfect sentence, then say it. Natural conversation often works like this. Begin, develop, adjust, continue. Even native speakers change direction in the middle of sentences. They say, I was going to, actually, let me explain it differently. Or, the main reason was, well, there were probably 2 reasons. That is normal speech. You need permission to construct in motion. Let us train safe beginnings. Question, how was your week? Begin only with, it was. Then continue. It was pretty busy at first. Now add detail, because I had several deadlines. Next, but things became calmer toward the end of the week. Good. Question. What do you think about online learning? Begin. I think. Continue. I think it can be really useful. Next, especially for people who need flexible schedules. Continue. The main problem is, keep going. You did not need the entire answer before starting. This reduces the pressure on working memory. If you try to hold a 20-word sentence in your mind before speaking, you are doing several difficult tasks at once. Choosing vocabulary, checking grammar, planning pronunciation, remembering the idea, holding the structure, then delivering it. Of course, that feels heavy. Short planning windows are easier. Think one phrase ahead, not one paragraph ahead. Here is a practice method. I call it rolling speech. You are only allowed to plan the next 5 or 6 words. Question. What do you normally do when you are stressed? Start. When I'm stressed, I usually speak. Maybe. When I'm stressed, I usually go for a walk. Now your next thought. Because staying in the same place. Continue. Because staying in the same place sometimes makes me think too much. Next. After that, continue. Your speech rolls forward. This is much closer to natural conversation. Another important technique is the bridge phrase. A bridge phrase lets you begin while your main idea is still forming. Examples. That's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that, but I'd probably say, there are a few reasons for that. It depends a little, but the first thing that comes to mind is, use these naturally. Do not turn every answer into a formula. The purpose is to create movement. Question. If you could change one thing about your city, what would it be? Begin. The first thing that comes to mind is, speak. Now your brain has 1 extra second to choose the actual answer. This is legitimate conversational timing. You are not cheating. Humans use language to manage thinking time. Another trick is partial commitment. Suppose someone asks, would you rather work for yourself or for a company? You are not sure. Instead of freezing, say, I can see advantages to both, but I'd probably choose, now decide. You can think inside the sentence. That is a valuable skill. Try this. Which is more important, talent or discipline? Start. I think both matter, but if I had to choose, finish. Next. Would you prefer to live abroad? Start. I'm not completely sure, but I think, finish. Your brain learns that speaking can begin before certainty is complete. This skill also reduces translation. Translation often happens in the silent planning period. You think the whole idea in your native language, then convert it. But if English starts earlier, your brain has less time to build a complete first language sentence. You begin directly with, I think. The problem is, yesterday I'm planning to, and the thought develops inside English. That is exactly what you want. Now let us try a 30-second challenge. I will give you 5 questions. For each one, begin within 2 seconds. Do not wait for the complete answer. Question 1. What is something you want to learn this year? Speak. Question 2. What makes a conversation enjoyable? Speak. Question 3. What was the best part of your day? Speak. Question 4. What is one thing you would change about your routine? Speak. Question 5. What do you usually do when plans change suddenly? Speak. If you stumbled, good. You are training at initiation speed. There are 2 separate speaking skills, starting, continuing. Some learners can continue once they begin, but starting feels difficult. Others start quickly and then collapse after 1 sentence. We are going to strengthen the continuation next, because the moment after your first answer is where many searches begin. Chapter 6. Learn to continue without searching for new vocabulary. Imagine someone asks, what kind of movies do you like? You answer, comedy. Finished. Now silence. You may think the problem is vocabulary. It often is not. You simply do not have a continuation habit. You need to learn how to expand ideas using language you already know. You do not need a new advanced word after every sentence. You need another angle. There are 6 directions you can move: reason, example, detail, contrast, result, story. Let us use the movie question. I like comedy. Reason, because I usually watch movies to relax. Example. For example, I enjoy light movies after a long day. Details. I especially like comedy that comes from everyday situations. Contrast. I don't usually enjoy very dark or violent films. Result. So when I choose something to watch, I normally look for something easy and entertaining. Story. Last weekend I watched One Basic Preference Can Become a Full Conversation. Nothing required difficult vocabulary. That is important. Searching often happens because learners think each new sentence needs new language. No. You can build depth with simple language. Let us practice another. Question. Do you enjoy mornings? Basic. Yes, I do. Reason. I like mornings because speak. Example. For example. Speak. Contrast. The only thing I don't like is speak. Result. That's why I usually speak. You are learning movement. Another useful continuation tool is the second question inside your own answer. You say, I started learning English seriously 2 years ago. Now silently ask, why? Answer, I wanted to become more confident at work. Ask, what happened? At first I focused mostly on grammar. Ask, what changed? Later, I realized I needed much more speaking practice. You can generate your own continuation. This is especially useful when practicing alone. Use these internal questions. Why? How? When? Where? Who? What happened next? What changed? What do I think about it? What would I do differently? These questions turn one idea into many. Try it. Topic. A useful habit I have. Start with one sentence. Now ask yourself, why is it useful? Answer, when did I start? Answer, what changed because of it? Answer, would I recommend it? Answer. You can speak for 2 minutes about one simple topic. This is not filler. Each answer adds new information. Another fluency skill is returning to a familiar word instead of searching for constant variety. Writers may avoid repetition carefully. Conversation is more relaxed. If important is the word available, use it. You do not need to search for essential, crucial, significant, vital, fundamental every time. Say what comes naturally. Later, as your vocabulary develops, variation will appear. Do not sacrifice flow for unnecessary sophistication. There is also a technique called narrowing. If a topic feels too big, make it smaller. Question. What do you think about technology? Huge topic. You may freeze because there are too many directions. Narrow it. When it comes to everyday life, I think. Now talk about phones, work, communication, or convenience. Question. What do you think about education? Narrow. If we're talking about language learning, now you have a manageable area. This helps because searching is sometimes not a language problem, it is an idea problem. You do not know what you want to say. Do not blame your English for that. Give your idea a smaller target. Another method is choosing a position quickly. Question, is it better to live in a city or countryside? You could spend 30 seconds analyzing every possible situation. Instead say, for me, I'd probably choose the city. Now explain. You can add nuance later. I like quiet places too, but speaking needs decisions. They do not need to be permanent philosophical positions. They are simply directions for the conversation. Let us do a continuation workout. I will give you a sentence. You add 4 more sentences without introducing advanced vocabulary. Sentence. I enjoy learning new skills. Continue with a reason. Now an example. Now a challenge. Now the result. Good. Next. My weekends are usually quiet. Reason. Detail. Contrast. Story. Good. Next. I would like to travel more. Reason. Place. Obstacle. Future plan. Good. You are proving something to yourself. You already possess enough English to speak longer than you think. The real challenge is often organization and continuation. This matters because word searching becomes worse when you put pressure on vocabulary to carry the whole conversation. Vocabulary is only one part. Structure can carry you. Reasons carry you. Examples carry you. Stories carry you. Comparisons carry you. Once you know where the idea is going, the words often become easier to find. Now we need to train speaking under a little pressure, not stressful pressure, useful pressure. Because if you always give yourself unlimited time, your brain has no reason to improve retrieval speed. Chapter 7. Train fast access with controlled time. Fluency practice needs a small amount of pressure, not panic, not rushing, just enough pressure to encourage faster access. Imagine you always allow yourself 30 seconds before answering a question. Your brain learns, there is plenty of time, I can translate, I can search, I can edit. Then real conversation arrives. Someone expects an answer now. Your system is not prepared. We can train initiation speed separately. Use the 3-second rule. Someone asks a simple question. Begin within 3 seconds. Your first sentence can be simple. Question. What did you eat this morning? 1, 2, 3. Speak. Question. What are you doing tomorrow? 1, 2, 3. Speak. Question. What kind of weather do you enjoy? Speak. The goal is not speaking fast. The goal is beginning fast. Important difference. You can start quickly and then speak at a calm pace. For example, what do you do on weekends? Within 3 seconds. Usually I spend most of Saturday at home. Then continue naturally. That is good. Do not confuse fluency with speed. Some very fluent speakers speak slowly. Their language still feels natural because they do not look trapped inside every sentence. We are training access, not racing. Another useful exercise is rapid naming. Look around. Name 10 things without translating. Desk, window, phone, chair, wall, door, cup, book, lamp, keyboard. Now add one verb to each. Open the window, charge the phone, move the chair, close the door, read the book, turn on the lamp. Now add a phrase. The book I'm reading, the chair beside my desk, the phone I use for work. You are moving from word to phrase to meaningful unit. This builds speed without forcing full conversation immediately. Another exercise is category sprint. Give yourself 30 seconds. Category: food. Name as many as you can. Rice, bread, chicken, eggs, apples, soup, cheese. Now category: travel, passport, flight, hotel, train, ticket, luggage. Airport, map. Now category: emotions, happy, nervous, excited, worried, calm, angry, disappointed, proud. This strengthens category access. But do not spend your entire practice naming lists. The next step is more important. Take 3 words from the category and speak with them. Travel, flight, hotel, luggage. Say, my flight was delayed, so I arrived at the hotel late, and unfortunately my luggage. Continue. Now the words are active. Another controlled time method is the shrinking preparation challenge. Choose one question, first attempt. Give yourself 10 seconds to prepare. Speak for 40 seconds. Second attempt. Give yourself 5 seconds. Speak again. Third attempt. Begin immediately. Same topic. You may discover that your third answer is smoother. Why? You are no longer trying to design perfection. Your brain recognizes the territory. This is a powerful training method. Use the same topic multiple times. Learners often think repeated topics are boring, but repetition creates automaticity. The goal is not to entertain yourself with endless novelty. The goal is to make retrieval easier. Suppose the question is, what do you like about your city? Attempt 1 may be, I like my city because there are many places. Attempt 2, one thing I like about my city is that everything I need is fairly close. Attempt 3, what I like most is the convenience. Most places I go regularly are nearby, so each attempt becomes more efficient. You are discovering useful language. Another exercise is 20-second answers. Answer a question for exactly 20 seconds, not 5, not 1 minute, 20. This forces you to continue, but not forever. Question. What do you normally do after work? 20 seconds. Question. What kind of people do you enjoy talking to? 20 seconds. Question. What is one place you would like to visit? 20 seconds. This develops a comfortable response length. Later, increase to 30 seconds, then 45, then 1 minute. There is another challenge called No Restart Speaking. This one is important. Choose a topic. Speak for 1 minute. If you make a mistake, you may correct one word quickly, but you may not restart the whole sentence. Suppose you say, yesterday I went to. Continue. Do not say, sorry. Let me start again. Yesterday why? Restarting teaches your brain that mistakes are emergencies. They are not. Conversation is full of repairs. A quick correction is fine. Sorry, went there yesterday. Done. Keep moving. This strengthens resilience. Word searching often becomes worse because the learner fears making an incorrect choice. If every word feels like a test, retrieval slows. Controlled practice teaches, I can choose something, speak, adjust, and continue. That attitude supports speed. Let us do a short challenge now. Answer each question within 3 seconds and continue for at least 15 seconds. Question 1. What is one thing you did well this week? Speak. Question 2. What is something you want to buy eventually? Speak. Question 3. What kind of environment helps you concentrate? Speak. Question 4. What is one thing you have changed your mind about? Speak. Question 5. What do you usually do when you cannot sleep? Speak. If some answers felt difficult, do not judge them. Notice where the delay happened. Did you lack vocabulary? Did you lack an idea? Were you trying to make the sentence too advanced? Were you translating? Different causes need different solutions. That ability to diagnose your hesitation is valuable. Now we move into real conversation behavior, because sometimes your words disappear not when speaking alone, but when another person is looking at you and waiting. We need tools for that moment. Chapter 8. Control the moment when someone is waiting. Speaking alone can feel easy. Then a real person asks a question. Suddenly your English changes. Your heart beats faster. You become aware of your pronunciation. You notice every pause. You imagine the other person judging your grammar. Words that were easy 5 minutes ago disappear. This is not necessarily a language problem. Social pressure changes attention. Part of your mind stops communicating and starts monitoring yourself. How do I sound? Was that correct? Do they understand me? Am I taking too long? That self-monitoring consumes mental space. You need conversational tools that give you control. The first tool is visible thinking. Instead of becoming completely silent, use natural language while thinking. That's a good question. Let me think for a second. I'd probably say, I've never thought about that before. There are a couple of ways to look at it. Now you are still communicating while your brain prepares. Silence is not always bad. But if silence makes you panic, these phrases can help. Question. What is the biggest challenge in learning a language? Say, that's a good question. I'd probably say, then answer. Natural. Second tool. Ask for clarification. Sometimes you search for words because you are not even sure what the person asked. Do not guess. Say, do you mean? Could you explain what you mean by? Are you asking about? Could you say that again? This reduces unnecessary mental work. Third tool. Confirm understanding. So you mean, if I understand correctly, you're asking. This buys time and prevents misunderstandings. Fourth tool. Use shorter turns. You do not need to deliver a 2-minute monologue every time. Say one clear point. Let the other person respond. Conversation is shared. Question. Did you enjoy the conference? You could say, yes, especially the morning sessions. They were much more practical than I expected. Stop. The other person may ask, what was your favorite one? Now continue. You do not need to carry the entire interaction alone. Fifth tool. Invite help naturally when necessary. What's the word for? I can't remember what it's called, but you know the thing that. The other person may supply the word. Say, yes, exactly. Continue. That is successful communication. Sixth tool. Correct without drama. If you say, he go there yesterday, correct. He went there yesterday. Continue. Do not apologize for every grammar slip. A small repair is enough. Seventh tool. Change the route when a sentence becomes too complicated. You begin. The reason why I think that this situation can perhaps, you feel lost. Stop elegantly. Let me put that more simply. Then, I think the main problem is time. Perfect. This is an advanced fluency behavior. Fluent speakers abandon bad sentence designs all the time. You are allowed to do the same. Let us practice. Imagine I ask, why do you think some people struggle to stay consistent? Start answering. If your sentence gets complicated, say, let me put that more simply, then express one clear point. Again, question, what is something society could improve? Begin. If you need time, that's a broad question. The first thing that comes to mind is continue. Good. Now imagine you do not understand my question. I ask, what factor has had the greatest influence on your approach to learning? You could say, do you mean what has changed the way I learn? Excellent. Clarification is not a weakness, it is communication. There is another social skill you should practice, not filling every pause. Sometimes learners speak badly because they are afraid of silence. They rush, they throw random words into the sentence. Then they become more confused. A short pause can be strong. Question, pause, then speak. The goal is not 0 pauses. The goal is meaningful pauses instead of panic pauses. A meaningful pause says, I'm thinking. A panic pause feels like, my English has collapsed. Your attitude changes the experience. Try this. Ask yourself, what is one lesson you learned recently? Wait 2 seconds calmly, then answer. No rush. You did not fail because you paused. Remember, automatic fluency does not mean instant speech about every complex topic. It means everyday language becomes easier to access, and when difficulty appears, you know how to handle it. That second part is essential. True confidence does not come from believing, I will never get stuck. It comes from knowing, if I get stuck, I can recover. That is a much stronger belief. We now have the tools for missing words, sentence building, continuation, pressure, and real interaction. But there is one more issue. Some learners practice speaking for months and still search because they never recycle the language they struggled to find. They keep starting from 0. We are going to fix that. Chapter 9. Turn today's struggles into tomorrow's automatic English. Imagine you are speaking and you struggle to express this idea. I postponed the meeting. You eventually say, I moved the meeting to another day. Good. Later you discover, postpone. You write it in a notebook, then you never use it again. 3 weeks later, the same situation happened. You forget postpone again. Why? Because noticing a word once does not make it automatic. You need recycling. Your speaking mistakes and hesitations are not just problems. They are personalized learning material. They show you exactly what your brain needs. That is much more valuable than a random list of vocabulary. After a speaking session, write down 3 things. Number 1. What did I want to say? Number 2. What useful English could express it? Number 3. How can I use it in 3 new situations? Example. What I wanted to say. I moved the meeting to a later date. Useful English. I postponed the meeting. Now 3 new examples. We had to postpone the trip because of the weather. They postponed the event until next month. I don't want to postpone this decision again. Now the word has multiple roots. Another example. You wanted to say, I had no energy. Later you learn, I felt drained. Use it. I felt drained after work. That conversation left me feeling drained. I've been feeling a little drained this week. You are converting a speaking gap into active vocabulary. This is a powerful system because the words are relevant to you. You already needed them. That gives them importance. Another technique is the 24-hour reuse rule. Whenever you learn a useful phrase from a speaking struggle, use it again within 24 hours. Say it aloud. Put it into another answer. Use it in a voice note. Write 1 sentence. Tell a short story containing it. The exact activity matters less than retrieval. If you only reread the phrase, recognition grows. If you retrieve it, access grows. Let us use the phrase, I ended up. Maybe you will learn it today. Create 3 examples now. I planned to stay home, but I ended up, finish. I thought the task would be easy, but I ended up, finish. We were going to cook, but we ended up, finish. Tomorrow, use the phrase again without looking. That is how it begins becoming yours. Another useful tool is a personal phrase bank, not a huge vocabulary notebook, a small collection of phrases you actually want to use. Organize it by purpose. Talking about uncertainty. I'm not completely sure. I haven't decided yet. I'd have to think about that. Talking about change. I used to, but now, over time, I started to. That changed when. Talking about problems, I ran into a problem. The main issue was, it didn't go as planned. Talking about recovery, I figured it out eventually. I found another way. It worked out in the end. These patterns are more useful for speaking than isolated vocabulary lists. Every week, choose 10 phrases. Use them in different contexts. At the end of the week, keep the ones that feel useful. Remove the ones you never need. Your phrase bank should reflect your life. If you work in business, you may need follow up, meet a deadline, go over the details, keep someone updated. If you are a student, submit an assignment, prepare for an exam, fall behind, catch up. If you travel, check in, miss a connection, make a reservation, get directions. Your automatic English grows from repeated personal relevance. Another method is delayed retrieval. Today, learn a phrase. Do not look at it tomorrow morning. Try to remember it. If you remember, use it. If not, check it and try again later. The effort to remember is part of learning. Do not fear that effort. Difficulty retrieving something can strengthen the memory when you finally retrieve it. You can also create rescue sentences. These are sentences you want ready because you need them often. Maybe, I need a moment to think about that. I'm not sure how to explain it, but what I'm trying to say is, I haven't had much experience with that. I'd like to know more before I decide. Could you give me an example? Practice them until they feel easy. These sentences protect you during conversations. Another important idea, do not correct everything. If you record 5 minutes of speaking, you might find 20 possible improvements. Choose 3. Otherwise, your review becomes another exhausting study session. Focus on high-value language, things you wanted but could not express, mistakes you repeat frequently, phrases you know would be useful again. That is enough. Let us practice a review. Think about your English from the last few minutes. Was there any word you wanted but could not find? Any sentence that felt difficult? Any phrase from this lesson you would like to use yourself? Choose one. Now make 3 personal examples. Speak them aloud. Good. You are already recycling. There is one final principle before we build the complete system. The goal is not to practice until you never search for words. That is impossible. The goal is to change what happens when searching begins. Right now, your pattern may be missing word, stop, panic, translate, search, restart, we want, missing word, simplify, describe, continue. Maybe retrieve it later. That pattern is much more fluent. Eventually, familiar words and phrases come faster because you have used them repeatedly. Unfamiliar moments still happen, but they no longer destroy the conversation. That is automatic fluency in a realistic sense. Now let us put everything together into one training system you can actually use. Chapter 10. The Automatic Fluency Workout. We have covered many skills. Now you need a routine that turns them into behavior. Not a routine that takes 2 hours. Not a routine that requires special equipment. A speaking workout you can repeat. We will build it in 6 rounds. The full workout takes about 25 to 30 minutes. If you have less time, you can shorten each round, but keep the order. Round 1. Fast activation. 3 minutes. Look around you and speak about what is happening now. No preparation. Use simple English. What am I doing? What can I see? What am I thinking about? What do I need to do later? Keep talking. The purpose is not beautiful language. The purpose is switching English on. Let us do 30 seconds now. Describe where you are. Begin. Mention what you can see, what you can hear, what you are doing, what you are going to do after this class. Good. Round 2. Situation network. 5 minutes. Choose one real-life situation. For example, going to a restaurant, attending a meeting, traveling, shopping, visiting a doctor, talking to a friend. Write or think of 5 useful words and 3 useful phrases. Then create a short imaginary conversation. Let us use travel, words, flight, luggage, hotel, booking, delay, useful phrases. My flight has been delayed. I have a reservation. Could you tell me where? Now speak for 1 minute about an imaginary trip using those words. Do not force every word. Let the situation guide you. Round 3. No perfect word training. 5 minutes. Choose 5 objects, actions, or ideas. Describe each one without using its name. For example, describe a microwave without saying microwave. It's a machine in the kitchen that heats food quickly. Describe confidence without saying confidence. It's the feeling that you can handle something even if you are a little nervous. Describe the deadline. Describe a neighbor. Describe refund. This develops alternative routes. Round 4. 3-second answers. 5 minutes. Ask yourself 10 questions. Begin every answer within 3 seconds. Do not worry about long answers. 15 to 20 seconds is enough. Here are 10 you can use today. Question 1. What made you smile recently? Speak. Question 2. What is something you need to finish this week? Speak. Question 3. Which part of the day gives you the most energy? Speak. Question 4. What do you usually do when plans change? Speak. Question 5. What is one skill you respect in other people? Speak. Question 6. What is something you rarely spend money on? Speak. Question 7. What kind of environment helps you think clearly? Speak. Question 8. What is one thing you wish you had learned earlier? Speak. Question 9. What makes someone easy to talk to? Speak. Question 10. What are you looking forward to? Speak. This round trains initiation. Round 5. 1 minute chain. Choose one question. Speak for 1 minute without restarting. Use the continuation directions. Reason, example, detail, contrast, result, story, question. What has helped you improve at something difficult? Start. Keep going. If you run out of ideas, ask, why? What happened? What changed? What did I learn? Do not repeat the same point. Move. Round 6. Review and recycle. 3 to 5 minutes. Ask, where did I search? Which word disappeared? Which phrase would have helped? Choose only 3 items. Find the useful English. Then create 3 personal examples for each. Suppose you struggled with, I couldn't decide. Useful phrase, I was torn between 2 options. Examples, I was torn between staying home and going out. I was torn between 2 job offers. I was torn between buying the cheaper one and the better one. Now say the phrase tomorrow. This completes the cycle. Activate, connect, rephrase, respond, continue, recycle. Notice what is missing. There is no giant vocabulary list, no hour-long grammar lecture, no demand to speak perfectly. The workout trains access. That is what you need if your English already exists in your head but does not appear quickly enough. Now let us make this even more practical. What happens if you only have 10 minutes? Do this. 2 minutes of activation. 2 minutes situation vocabulary. 2 minutes 3-second answers. 2 minutes of one topic speaking. 2 minutes review. 10 minutes. What if you have 45 minutes? Extend each speaking round. Record yourself. Repeat one difficult topic. Reuse phrases from earlier in the week. The structure can grow with your available time. But consistency matters more than intensity. You want your brain to receive the same message repeatedly. When meaning appears, English needs to move. You also need a weekly challenge. Once a week, choose a topic you have not practiced. Speak for 3 minutes. No preparation notes. You may pause. You may describe missing words. You may simplify. You may correct yourself. But do not switch languages. Topics might include a difficult decision, a place you remember, a change in technology, a person who taught you something, a mistake that improved you, a social problem, a future goal, an unusual experience. At the end, ask, did I stay in English? That is your first measurement. Then, did I recover when words disappeared? Second measurement. Then, did I continue beyond short answers? Third measurement. Then, were there phrases I want to recycle? Fourth measurement. These measurements are more useful than asking, did I sound like a native speaker? That question creates pressure but gives little direction. Measure behaviors you can train. Start speed, continuation, recovery. Clarity, reuse. These are concrete. Now imagine practicing this for 30 days. During the first week, you may still search constantly, but you begin noticing your habits. You catch yourself waiting for the perfect word. You describe instead. You start using familiar phrases. Week 2. Some common answers begin faster. You hear, "What have you been doing?" and "I've been working on," appears without much effort. Week 3. You become more comfortable continuing. Instead of, "I like reading," you say, "I like reading because it helps me slow down after work." I mostly read. Your answers have movement. Week 4. You still forget words, but something important has changed. You no longer treat the missing word like a wall. You go around it. Maybe you say, "I can't remember the word, but it's basically," and continue. That is progress. Do not wait for the day when every English word appears instantly. Even highly fluent speakers search occasionally. They say, "What's the word I'm looking for? What do you call it? I can't remember the name." The difference is that the entire conversation does not collapse. That is what you are training. There is also a psychological shift. When you stop demanding perfect retrieval, you become more willing to speak. More speaking gives you more retrieval practice. More retrieval practice makes words easier to access. Easier access increases confidence. Confidence makes you speak more. That is a useful cycle. The opposite cycle is also real. You fear forgetting words, so you avoid speaking. Because you avoid speaking, retrieval stays weak. Weak retrieval creates more hesitation. More hesitation increases fear. You can break that cycle through repeated imperfect speaking. Not reckless speaking, intentional speaking. Use what you know, notice what is missing, return to it, try again. That is enough. Before we finish, I want to give you one final challenge. No preparation. Speak for 90 seconds on this question. What would change in your life if speaking English felt easier? Begin. Do not search for impressive vocabulary. Tell me the real answer. Would you speak to more people, travel more confidently, participate in meetings, apply for different jobs, make content, study abroad, enjoy conversations more, stop avoiding situations, keep speaking? If a word disappears, describe it. If a sentence goes wrong, repair it. If your idea ends, add an example. If you need time, say. The first thing that comes to mind is continue. That 90 seconds contains almost everything we have practiced. Now reflect. Do you need every word you know? No. You needed enough language to carry meaning. Did every sentence need to be perfect? No. You needed understandable movement. Did you search? Probably. That is fine. The important question is, what did you do when the search began? That is where fluency changes. Your goal from today is not, "I must never forget a word." Your goal is, "A forgotten word will not stop me." Say that aloud. A forgotten word will not stop me. Again. A forgotten word will not stop me. Now add. I can explain. I can simplify. I can continue. Again. I can explain. I can simplify. I can continue. Those 3 abilities will protect your speaking more than another list of 200 random vocabulary words. And as you continue practicing, something else happens naturally. The words you use frequently start arriving before you search. The phrase begins. The next part follows. You hear a familiar question and your response starts forming. Not because you memorized one perfect answer, because your brain has traveled that English road many times. That is what automaticity feels like. Familiar language becomes easier. Useful patterns become available. You spend less energy constructing the machinery of the sentence. More attention goes toward the person and the idea. And that is when conversation begins feeling different. You are no longer standing outside English trying to assemble it, you are using it. The next time a word disappears, do not treat that moment as proof that you cannot speak English. Treat it as a choice. You can stop and search, or you can keep the meaning moving. Use a simpler word. Describe what you mean. Start with a familiar phrase. Finish the thought you already began. Then come back later and strengthen the language that was missing. Do that repeatedly, and the distance between your thoughts and your English begins to shrink. Fluency is not having every word ready forever. It is knowing how to speak with what you have, recover when something is missing, and keep the conversation alive.